we're back. I cleaned the shop, swept. You can eat off the floor now. Gave a bunch of tires and rims away for free. So get a little good karma my way, hopefully. I got a new GoPro holder doodad. Now it's time to make the shop dirty again with another job. I did end up putting 4 wheels on this bad boy. No paint yet, but that'll come. And I still have to cut that little nub off, but it works great. I've been using it every now and again, and I'm very happy that I made it. Makes life so much easier. So I have to make, can't see outside right now. I have to make a 18-inch bucket now, a digging bucket for a job. So I'll show you what I got. I grabbed a 12-inch 580 case backhoe bucket. It's way too big for my machine, but not the best lighting. I'm gonna try to bring it inside. I got it has pretty much brand new teeth on it, so I thought it was a good score. I bought it for like 150 bucks. I don't know if I can pick it up, but I'm gonna bring it in. I think I'm gonna cut it apart, and I'll show you my 12-inch one next to this 12-inch, and show you what I'm making. So as you can tell, my 12-inch bucket is a little smaller than the 580 case 12-inch bucket. So I'm gonna cut that 12-inch one apart and use all that metal. I'm gonna try to find the easiest way to make it an 18, but I think cutting it apart and starting from brand new is going to be the easiest way. I'll try to bring it inside real quick. Whoa. As you can tell, it's a little bit bigger than my other bucket. I'd love to weigh that just to see how much weight that is. So, I'll grab that cardboard. I can show you the difference. So that white line I scribed, here's the cardboard cut out of my bucket again. And you can see that plus the teeth is probably almost double the size. So this I think will hold, I did the calculations, I think it'll hold like 3.5 cubic feet of dirt, which is roughly 75 pounds per cubic foot. So that's 75, 150, probably around 250 total, or 300 depending on the type of material you're grabbing, plus the bucket, which is probably 800 pounds I lifted or something like that. So it's pretty heavy. So I'm going to cut these ears off. This is 1/2-inch steel. These holes are too big. I don't know if they'll fit my bushings, but cut this ear off, get the plasma cutter, start from here, cut out this whole side, same thing on the other side, cut that, and then you'll be stuck with the bottom. And then I'll probably cut that in half, bend it to the shape of this, and then expand it, weld two pieces together, make an 18-inch bucket. Then I'm going to make it a little deeper than this, because this wasn't, it holds a lot of dirt when it's the 30-inch one that I built, but cutting that almost in half per scoop will take a lot longer to dig the hole. So the reason why I'm building my own bucket again instead of just buying one, it takes, I looked it up, it's like 6 weeks or 8 weeks to get a bucket sent to you, and it might not be the size you want. I'm in PA, and the buckets are all coming from like across the country in Europe or something, and I can't really find a dealer around here that will have a bucket in stock or can get it within that like a short time frame. And when I'm looking for buckets, like a 12-inch bucket is the width, it'll tell you the width is 12 inches, but it doesn't tell you the depth really, how much cubic feet a bucket will hold until you buy it, and then there's a tag on the back of it that says cubic feet and all, like the part number and blah blah blah. Well, I have to compare the cubic feet weight to my machine because it's smaller, and I can show you a chart on everything that involves picking your bucket size. All right, I'm not sure if you can see that, but this is the lifting chart for my mini excavator, and they tell you within every lifting range, if you can see those numbers. This number here says 328 pounds. This is lifting over the front with the dozer blade up, so you're not pushing down on the ground with the dozer. But that the farthest reach out says 328 pounds here. So when I fully extend, it can lift up 328 pounds. I don't think that includes the bucket, so I'm going to go with not including the bucket. So that means if I have a 18 inches is a foot and a half cubic, so that's around 100 to 120 pounds, say. So then the bucket's probably around 100 pounds, 120 pounds. So I'm well within that 328 pound lifting range when I'm farthest extended. So that should be fine. And then you can go towards over the rear. The farthest is 500 pounds. So I'm well within that range. And then the lifting over the side is never a good idea to fully extend anything lifting over the side unless you like flipping over. And that's 247 is the fully extended over the side. And then it gets, the closer you are to the machine, how hydraulics work, and obviously the more lifting capacity you can pick up. So it goes from like 328 to 425 to the mid 500 ranges here, to the 600, 800 range here, and then the 2500 range when you're scooping. And then over at the very, very top, the highest is 500. So I'm well within, and I can even go with a 36-inch cleanup bucket, but I made a 30 anyway. So I'm fine within that range. So that should be more than efficient to pick up a full scoop of an 18-inch bucket. So we're back with the plasma cutter. Get you one if you don't have one. I gotta cut this is 3/4. I gotta cut it with a grinder. But I drill a hole when I use the plasma cutter, so you can have a nice hole to start. If you don't, when you first start, you get a bunch of blowback and ruin the tip. So you can tell by the empty spot. You can tell by the empty spot how much, you can tell how much smaller the bucket's going to be compared to that big backhoe bucket. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Look at that cut, like a robot. That one, not so much. Next on the agenda is to cut the supports, and then I'm going to do the same thing as my 30-inch bucket, weld a steel pipe, and then build the ears around that. These 4-inch grinders, 4.5-inch grinders are great, but these 7-inch, this is a 13 amp 7-inch grinder. Man, it makes the job so much faster. All right, so what I'm thinking is if I put this like this, and then just like I did with the last bucket, just kind of roll and then I'll mark pretty much there. And then I'll cut that and curl it. I didn't melt the camera, did I? Nope, you look good. All right. Got two separate pieces now. I got the heavy piece. Oop, sorry. Got the heavy piece here with the 3/4 steel ears, and I got the piece I'm using, the bucket. So now I have to bend this around, and I'll have to come up with something to do that. All right, so everything is cleaned, and I'm ready to bend this. I think I'm gonna bend it, tack it, cut the middle, so that already has that bend and it doesn't do anything wonky. And then I have to cut this middle tooth off, put a spacer in between 6 inches, and then I'm going to weld this tooth back on in the center between these two. All right, so I grinded around the tooth on both sides, and it's almost coming off. Oh, beautiful. So that's what the tooth looks like. And then there are 2 pins. That goes on the bucket like you've seen. And then there's a pin that has a replaceable tooth here that you slip in there, slide a pin through, and then when you replace it, pull the pin out, bang, you got a new tooth. So I'll grind this up and then cut the whole bucket. So I've been trying to figure out how to bend this thing, because it's not going to fit in my 20-ton press here. I only have about a 1-inch gap. Now I could drill more holes, move the bed down, and then stick that in there, but I think what will be easier and less time consuming is to get the plasma cutter, probably cut back here more, cut it straight across, take it over to the 20-ton press, bend it, stick it back on the bucket when it's curved. So I think that's what I'll do tomorrow. All right, so I cut the back off the bucket now, and then I'm gonna use this as a guide and just give it a decent bend, and then I will weld the piece back on. All right, so I cut these in half. I think this is hardened steel. It's kind of like rippling as I'm bending it, which making me think it's hardened, maybe AR 400 or AR 500 steel, which is typical for like a big bucket, big machine bucket. But it was taking a beating bending both pieces at once, so I was doing it separately, but I think I can live with that. I just have to mimic that 2 more times, which will be, the first piece is the easiest. Now you have to replicate that 2 more times, and that's the more difficult part. So I'll keep going at it. I'll cut that in the middle too. Alright, so I know I bent it correctly when I can stick these two pieces back together and you can barely tell I cut them apart. So I think it turned out great. Didn't take very long. Boom. I'll bend the middle now. That could be a cool chair. I just flipped it over, use it as a table. Anyway. Alright, so that's 20 inches. That'd be a nice bucket. That's 20 OD. I need to cut 8 inches. Alright. Alrighty, so I have to make these look like this and these. Alright, so I bent the middle piece and it's pretty perfect. So I'll tack that up and then make that. Then I have to make this middle piece here between them. Alright, so this is where we're at here. Put the cross piece in. Just have to weld the middle piece, and then I grinded those 3 pieces down there to add to the back part. So I made a nice box to keep everything square. So I just have to fill in the gaps. Alright, so I just tacked that side, as you can see, and then the slide this piece in here. That's how it'll look. Perfect bucket size for me. So I'll tack that side. Alright, so now I just have to fill this middle piece in with, I'm going to use 1/4 inch here and then a piece of 5/8 here to fill in the gap, and then a piece of 1/4 inch on top of that. And then I can slide the tooth in nicely and weld that back up. Alright, so I made this middle piece out of the hardened steel scrap I had left. I put a little bend on it to fit in there real nice. I want to keep as much of it as hardened steel as possible so it can take more of a beating. And then I'm going to probably weld a couple wear bars across just like my other bucket. So I'm going to tack this in and then make this out of 5/8 and another piece of this to make it 1 inch. Alright, so I tacked the center in. I'll just make this piece and then weld the crossbar across and then make the ears again. Got the filler piece there, 5/8. Then I'll just cut the hardened steel for the top. Voila. Alright, so ground it all down, double beveled so I can weld both sides, and then when I lay this across, there's pretty much no gap at the bottom or at the top. So it's ready to be tacked in, and then do the bottom plate. Alright, now I can weld pretty much the whole thing up. Alright, so I got the back part welded. Now I'm just going to lay that piece of 1/4 inch on top and then weld that and then fill in the gaps, and you'll never be able to tell. Alright, so I tacked this top or bottom piece in and I stepped it so I can weld that plate to that plate and then both of them to the bucket itself. So I'll weld the whole underside, and then I got to get this crossbar in. Alright, I have the top bar leveled and all measured, so I can tack that in place. I'm wearing my welding jacket tonight, and I'll show you why. Here's my right arm. Here's my left arm. That's where my sleeve was, and that's where my glove was. As you can tell there, I got nice sunburn from welding. I don't know if I put this in my last bucket video, but instead of trying to cut all of this with a grinder and using 5 different blades and spending an hour, instead this Sawzall with the metal blade turned, you know, upside down. It's so much faster, plus you can do curves with it and whatnot. So, another method of cutting thick steel. And look at that. The cut too is fantastic. All right, I got the ears templated, cut, and ready to be drilled again, just like my last bucket. That's one. Two. All right, so I grind exactly the same, clamped them together, and I'll put a bevel, a double bevel, for better penetration of the weld. Anything over a 1/4 inch or more, I bevel one side or both sides, depending on the weld. And then this is my first time putting them on here, but do my measurements again right there. And I'm going to add that backing plate across the ears again to keep the center from bowing in. But other than that, it's coming out great. All right, so to bend this piece of 3/8, I had to put a relief cut in it, to make it like a 1/4 inch for the bender to bend it a lot easier. So this will be the extra support for the ears to curl the bucket, so the inside doesn't, the middle of the bucket doesn't start to push inward, because the center's not hardened steel, but the outsides are. So I figured I'll just connect the two outside hardened steel pieces together with a piece of 3/8, and that there's no way that machine can bend all this. So I'm going to weld this up, and then I'll tack the ears on. All right, so I'm going to compare the ears again to this bucket, to that bucket. That's my kind of my template with the bucket it came with, and they are as perfect as I'm going to get them. So I'm going to have this bucket, the bigger bucket, have a little more curl than the others. I didn't like how little curl the other bucket and this bucket and the 30-inch bucket have. So I might have to drill another hole here to have it have more curl, but it's pretty much ready for welding. All right, so I got both ears double beveled, So like about a 1/4 inch land in the middle. And I have my 2 old jigs from my other bucket, so I'm just gonna stick that in between, and that'll keep my measurement. And then I'll grind that and weld it and tack it, and then I'm gonna try it on the bucket again. All right, so I got the ears and the jig. I'm gonna tack everything up. It's a beautiful night out tonight. About 55 degrees, perfect for welding. Alrighty, I got the tooth welded on top and bottom, and the plate finished welding. And now I am going to work on welding the ears, and then mount it on the machine and test it out before I final weld everything. Alright, so I have that 1/4 inch wall pipe again. I have to just mimic the collars for the bucket so I can mount it on the machine. So I'm going to cut them right now. Alright, so I took my 2 spacers out. I'm going to put them back in for final welding on the ears, just so nothing funky happens when I get everything perfect. But I have these ready to be welded. I'm going to tack them in at 4 1/4, which is the spacing of the inside of those collars. And then I'm going to put it on the machine and make sure everything is perfect. Alright, so I know the machine's on the concrete, which is level. And then I hung the bucket in the air just to make it easier to work on, and gravity will make it level. So I didn't want the bucket to be like welded on the ground and kick sideways. So I'm gonna attack each one of these, and with the boom it looks pretty perfect. So all right, so I don't know if you could see that we have a slight gap there to clear this steel. Slight gap there and slight gap there. So now I can tack it, and I'll be able to put the bucket on the machine easily without the whole bucket rocking back and forth all day. It drives you nuts. Alright, so I got the collars welded. Now I'm just gonna put 2 more passes on each side of the ears, and then I am officially done this bucket, and I am very excited. Alrighty, so I got the ears fully done. Still have some slag and stuff, but it's late to be banging on it. So I'm going to spit shine it tomorrow and then mount it on the machine and give it a shot.